the weirdest jobs in history. So you think your job is weird? Maybe you're a porta potty cleaner. Maybe you test deodorant for a living. Maybe you're that person who has to push people into subway trains in Tokyo. Weird jobs, sure. But let me tell you something. Your ancestors had it so much worse. We're talking about people who got PAID to smell other people's armpits. Professional fart catchers. Literal human alarm clocks. And someone whose entire career was just standing there and getting shot at. Today, we're diving into the absolute weirdest jobs in history, and trust me, by the end of this video, you'll be thanking every deity you can name that you were born in the 21st century. Let's go. Job 1, the groom of the stool. Alright, we're starting strong with arguably the crappiest job in history. And yes, that pun is 100% intended. In Tudor England, being the groom of the stool was actually considered a prestigious position. Why? Because your job was to assist the king while he was on the toilet. I'm talking about literally helping Henry VIII do his business. You'd bring him the royal chamber pot, stay with him during the process, and then, and I cannot stress this enough, wipe his royal behind. But here's the kicker. This was actually one of the most powerful positions in the kingdom. You spent hours alone with the king every day. You had his ear. You could whisper advice, share secrets, ask for favors. Some of these guys became incredibly wealthy and influential. So remember, the next time you're having a bad day at work, at least your boss isn't making you, well, yeah. Job 2, the knocker up. Before alarm clocks were a thing, somebody had to wake people up for work. Enter the knocker up. These people would walk through the streets in the early morning with long bamboo poles or pea shooters, tapping on bedroom windows or shooting dried peas at them until their clients woke up. They wouldn't leave until they saw you wave from the window. But wait, if this was their job, who woke up the knocker-up? Historians actually debated this. Some knocker-ups claimed they never slept. Others said they just had really good internal clocks. Some probably had other knocker-ups waking them up, creating an infinite knocker-up paradox that haunts philosophers to this day. Imagine explaining this job at parties. Oh yeah, I throw peas at strangers' windows at 4 a.m. It's very fulfilling work. Job 3, the tosher. Victorian London had a serious sewage problem, and where there's sewage, there's opportunity. Toshers were people who would wade through London's sewer systems looking for valuables. We're talking about spending 8 to 10 hours a day, chest deep in literal human waste, sifting through the muck looking for coins, jewelry, or anything they could sell. The job was technically illegal, but it paid pretty well if you found good stuff. The catch? You could die at any moment from toxic gas, drowning in sewage, or being attacked by the massive rats that live down there. Some were reportedly the size of cats, and these guys didn't have protective gear. No hazmat suits, maybe some boots if they were lucky, just raw dogging their way through Victorian poop soup for spare change. You know what? I'm never complaining about my commute again. Job 4, the full-time drunk. Okay, hear me out on this one, because it sounds amazing at first. In the 1800s, medical students needed to practice diagnosing illnesses, but they couldn't just grab random sick people off the street. So medical schools would hire people to pretend to be sick or injured so students could examine them. Some of these professional patients specialized in acting drunk. They'd show up, pretend to be wasted, and let students poke and prod them while asking diagnostic questions. But then some genius realized, wait, why are we pretending? So they'd actually get these people drunk for real, like legitimately hammered every single day, as a job, with benefits. Imagine putting that on your resume. Occupation, professional intoxicated person. Skills, day drinking, slurred speech, poor balance. References, available upon sobering up. Job 5, the whipping boy. You know how royalty was considered too divine and special to be punished? Well, medieval Europe had a solution that was both creative and absolutely insane. If a young prince misbehaved, they couldn't spank him. That would be disrespectful to the royal bloodline. So instead, they'd punish his whipping boy, a kid who grew up alongside the prince and got beaten every time the prince did something wrong. The logic was that the prince would feel so bad watching his friend get whipped that he'd behave better. Spoiler alert, this rarely worked, and you just ended up with one traumatized kid and one prince who learned zero accountability. Imagine being that kid's parent. How was work today, son? Oh, got flogged because Prince Edward threw his soup again. Living the dream, Dad. Job 6, the leech collector. Back when bloodletting was considered cutting-edge medicine, doctors needed a steady supply of leeches, and someone had to collect them. Leech collectors would wade into swamps and ponds and use their own legs as bait. They'd stand there in the water and let leeches attach to their skin. Once they had enough bloodsuckers on them, they'd pull them off, put them in containers, and sell them to doctors and apothecaries. The job came with serious health risks. You could get infections, lose too much blood, or contract diseases from the leeches. But hey, at least you got to spend your day standing in a swamp being slowly drained of blood. What's not to love? Fun fact, this is literally why we call people who exploit others leeches. Because at least actual leeches had the decency to be sold for medical purposes. Job 7, the human cannonball catcher. Circuses used to be wild, people. And I mean genuinely dangerous, not just, ooh, look, a trapeze. Dangerous. When human cannonball acts became popular, they needed someone to catch the person being shot out of the cannon. Not with a net, mind you, with their body. These catchers would literally stand there with their arms out while a full-grown adult came flying at them at ridiculous speeds. Injuries were constant. Broken bones were basically guaranteed. And if you mistimed it, well, let's just say circus life insurance wasn't great. The weirdest part? This job existed because nets were considered boring for audiences. People wanted to see danger. They wanted stakes. They wanted the very real possibility of watching someone die for entertainment. Simpler times, darker times. Times I'm glad are over. So, there you have it. 7 of the absolute weirdest jobs in history. The next time you're stuck in a boring meeting or dealing with a difficult customer, just remember, you could be waist deep in Victorian sewage, getting whipped for someone else's mistakes, or literally catching humans shot out of cannons. What weird historical job did I miss? Drop it in the comments below. And if you enjoyed learning about humanity's questionable employment choices, smash that like button and subscribe for more fascinating history content. I'm out. And I'm gonna go hug my laptop and thank it for existing so I can have a normal job. Peace!